I'm Brian Lilley, and I want to talk to you about Keystone XL pipeline. We all know that last week, U.S. President Barack Obama said no to the pipeline. Congress, in both houses, with bipartisan support, had said they wanted the pipeline built. This is a pipeline that will take Canadian oil from Alberta down to the U.S. Gulf Coast. It's going to create hundreds of construction jobs and will sustain long-term jobs as well. And it will give the United States access to more Canadian oil, an ethical, long-term, stable supply of oil, as opposed to going to Venezuela, going to Saudi Arabia, going to countries that have a less than stellar environmental or human rights record. But still, President Obama put pen to paper and said no. He vetoed Keystone XL. Well, up here in Ottawa, on Parliament Hill, where I am, that's considered a bad move. That's the prevailing view anyway. But it's not only here in Canada that people are saying this is a bad move. The Washington Post is now calling out Obama on what they say are essentially lies in his reasoning for saying no. But to understand why, I need to play you a clip from an interview that the president gave to WDAY out of North Dakota.
Initially, Keystone was vetoed because Congress was trying to circumvent a process that's been in place for years to evaluate all the aspects of it. More importantly, though, part of the reason North Dakota has done so well is because we have been very much promoting domestic U.S. Energy use. And I've already said I'm happy to look at how we can increase pipeline production for U.S. oil. But Keystone is for Canadian oil, to send that down to the Gulf. It bypasses the United States, is estimated to create a little over 250 maybe 300 permanent jobs. We should be focusing more broadly on American infrastructure for American jobs and American producers, and that's something that we very much support.
So the president is trying to say that there's going to be no benefit to the Americans from taking Canadian oil, that it's somehow just going to be bypassed. It's going to go to the Gulf Coast and then be exported. And you hear that from environmentalists here in Canada as well. People that are opposed to the pipeline say it's just a way to get it to market. Well, that's not the view of both industry or the U.S. government. The Washington Post, in their fact checker section, gave Obama's claims on Keystone 4 Pinocchios. That's the worst record you can get. That says you're telling whoppers of lies on this one. So I want to quote to you from the Washington Post. Remember, and I keep saying it, this is the Washington Post because this is part of the liberal media establishment that is normally in Obama's pocket. But here's what they're saying on this. A report released in February by IHS Energy, which consults for energy companies, concluded that, quote, Canadian crude making its way to the USGC, that's the Gulf Coast, will likely be refined there, and much of the refined products are likely to be consumed in the United States. That report went on to say, for Gulf refineries, heavy bitumen blends from the oil sands are an attractive substitute for declining offshore heavy crude supply from Latin America. It concluded that 70% of the refined product would be consumed in the United States. So a few things there. It's going to be refined in the United States. That will create American jobs. It will be consumed in the United States. Well, that means it's not just bypassing. And thirdly, it's going to displace Latin American oil. What's the number one source for Latin American oil in the United States? Venezuelan oil. Venezuela is a less than stable country. It's not a country that believes in true democracy. It's not one that believes in human rights. It's not one that believes in even private property. So why has the Obama administration been so willing to stay on board with Venezuelan oil over Canadian? That part is a mystery. Now, environmentalists have dismissed the IHS report as saying that is, well, that's just industry. That's what they say. But the Washington Post goes on to point out that this is the same thing that the U.S. State Department found when they did their survey. So the U.S. government and industry both say the same thing. Canadian oil traveling down the Keystone XL pipeline is going to end up in the American market. It's going to create American jobs. It's going to provide American consumers with product. Everybody wins. Everybody gets jobs, and the U.S. has a stable supply of ethical oil. So what's the problem? Obama, in the interview with North Dakota's WDAY, was also trying to say that really what he wants is to make sure that there's a supply or a way for American oil to get to market. Well, Keystone XL would pick up oil in Montana and in North Dakota and deliver it to these same refineries. In fact, the Bakken Formation, which goes over the North Dakota, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan borders, it goes across both countries through 2 provinces and 1 state at the least. 12% of the oil that's going to be picked up and delivered by Keystone XL will come from the North Dakota side of the Bakken Formation. That doesn't include the oil that will be picked up in Montana. So Obama is saying several lies on this. One, that it's just going to bypass the United States. Not true. It'll be refined there, which creates jobs. It will be consumed there, providing the United States with a stable supply of energy. And 3, the same pipeline will also deliver American oil to market. So what's the problem here? The problem is this isn't the view of Obama's main fundraisers, his enablers, his bundlers, people like Tom Steyer, a man who made his billions in the energy industry and then decided to turn his back on it once he had enough money. He's a champagne socialist of the highest order, and he's been one of the people, along with several major Hollywood stars like Mark Ruffalo from the Avengers movies. You know, he plays the Incredible Hulk. Well, he's definitely gone green. He is one of the Hollywood liberal elite that wants to try and stop Keystone XL from going across. That's what this is about. It's not about science. It's not about economics. It's not about common sense. It's about taking a stand for the liberal establishment. It's about taking a stand for those that have lots and live in the lap of luxury, that want to say to the rest of us, you can't have what we have. Obama's wrong on many counts, and it's not just me saying it. It's the Washington Post giving him 4 Pinocchios. Let that sink in.